So today's hard truth, some of you might want to buckle up. It's going to be interesting. You are the creator of your own misery.
Curious what business owners are doing to double revenue, have more cash flow, work less hours, and provide a better lifestyle for their family? Dive into the world of business growth that leads to guaranteed wealth. Your hosts, Dr. Laura Shwaluk and Jerry Kezhaya. Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals.
Welcome to this edition of the Business Builders Intensive. We have a very special guest and friend on with us today. Sarah Schaefer has been a nurse for over 30 years, and the last 11 years have been in critical care. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you.
You are so awesome. We love you.
So would you tell us, just to get everyone familiar with you, who you are, a little about your background and what you're into these days, how you're helping people?
So I've been a nurse for almost 32 years. This year will be my 32-year anniversary. And started out just doing some OR nursing and moved into some representative for a company, St. Jude Medical, doing spinal cord stimulation for chronic pain patients. And then the last 11 years I've been in critical care working in a cath lab where we deal with people having strokes and heart attacks, and it's all pretty high intensity, high adrenaline stuff that goes on there. Um, yeah, so that's a little bit of my background. As far as the psychedelics, I kind of got into that about 3 years ago, kind of by mistake, really. I have struggled with depression at that time, for over 20 years and had been on, I think, nearly every antidepressant, added mood stabilizers. We're always adding another medication to try to make me not sad. And was told by multiple physicians that, this is probably hereditary. This is something you're probably always going to be on. So felt pretty hopeless. And as most people who are on SSRIs know, you'll be on one for a while and it might work really well for a while and then it stops working. And so
Give
then
us
you
an
have to take,
example. Give us an example of an SSRI so that people know, like a
sure.
generic
So
drug name or something.
Prozac, Celexa, Wellbutrin,
Mm.
Cymbalta, all of these,
Historically, they worked for 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks at the tops, and then they just kind of peter out. But you're still
yeah.
taking them because you can't get off the damn things. And
Right. And I actually had one, I would say Celexa, that probably went for several years that I felt like I got some pretty decent relief from for several years. But when it stopped working, it stopped working. And so then you have to slowly taper off and then slowly taper up on another one. So you have several weeks between these new medications where you're having to kind of just white knuckle life and get through.
And feel either
Um,
depressed or anxious or just not yourself.
and,
right.
and I just read yesterday that over 50% of American women aged 40 and up are on SSRIs.
Yeah, for a
Wow,
variety of reasons. I
is that
mean, most of it's
crazy?
menopause and hormone related, and we just are using those. And I
Yeah,
just think, oh, stop.
50% of the women out there are taking SSRIs.
Yeah,
Holy crumb.
yeah. And they're life altering. So about 3.5 years ago, I guess, maybe closer to 4 years ago, I had come home one evening from work and I take a lot of call. I mean, for 11 years was on call working in the middle of the night so many times. And I was just kind of beat and was laying on my dog's bed in the living room trying to figure out something to watch on TV one night, just trying to kind of check out of the day's stress.
Sure.
And what really wasn't sure, but what I wanted to watch. My husband was on the couch. He's kind of flipping through his phone. We're not very connected at this point. We're kind of living like roommates for the most part. We'd been married
Mm.
for 25 years at the time. And How to Change Your Mind came up on a recommended show to watch on Netflix.
Yeah, Michael Pollan.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd never heard of him. I had never heard of this show, this book, nothing. I had never heard of anything psychedelics. I grew up in a home that we weren't super religious, but I was raised in the church and drugs were absolutely no, all of them, no matter what. Well, grew up in the age of Dare, where this is your brain on drugs and,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
frying egg. And then you get into nursing, and nursing, it's absolutely not. anything that's illegal is absolutely the devil. So it never crossed my mind to even look into these things. They were just a non-issue. So I thought, well, what is this about? And I watched the first episode, and that first episode is on LSD, and I thought, oh, absolutely not. That is not for me. But I was intrigued at the people that were on this episode because they weren't what I would assume LSD using people looked like, like we're talking Woodstock or these old burnt out hippies, and these were not those people. And they were using them for mental health types of issues. And so I was like, well, that's never for me, but let's keep watching. So I watched the second episode that night, which was on psilocybin. And by the end of that episode, I just sat there in awe watching this episode, like not believing what I was hearing. I couldn't believe it. And I
Yeah.
was in tears by the end of the episode.
Wow.
And my husband was like, what's going on with you? And I said, I feel like there might be hope for me for the first time ever. At this point, I was actually considering electroconvulsive therapy,
Oh,
which,
wow.
Wow.
as anybody knows, is huge.
Yeah.
You're going to alter some stuff in your
Everything.
brain if you do that, maybe
And it's
lose a
irreversible.
personality.
Totally
My-
irreversible.
Yeah, when I was a child, or maybe it was before I was even born, my dad had that done. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I actually found out my grandmother's sister, which I did not know at the time, had gone through multiple ECT treatments. And I was like, holy cow. And she was very depressed. So I felt very hopeful at that point, but I also was like, now I don't know what to do from here. So I started researching. I did watch the other two episodes, and MDMA, we'll get there eventually. That was one that excited me and intrigued me because it was, the love drug. And I knew I desperately loathed who I was. I couldn't tell you really why, but I just did. I hated that I was so sad, and I didn't really feel like I had any reason to be sad. So started doing research on retreats. Where can I go to get this treatment if I want to do it? And I need to see some studies. I'm a nurse. I am deeply ingrained in Western medicine. I want to see evidence-based studies and studies and studies. I want to know that it's safe because it's scary. So as in my research, I found several retreats that were, Costa Rica, Mexico. I'm on the West Coast, so looking for something that's a little bit closer. And most of those retreats were shamanically led. And at the time, that's different now for me, but at the time, you say the word shaman, and my religious upbringing says the devil. So
Right.
yeah.
that's not an option for me. So I'm looking for something that is more Western medicine based, that has physicians, nurses, trained therapists, licensed therapists there that can kind of be your guardrails in case things go sideways. And I found that in Jamaica. It was a retreat called Myco Meditations. And so I researched them. They had a podcast at the time that had anesthesiologists, physicians that had been down to their retreat. And so that spoke to me because they were talking my language. And the changes that they were seeing after having gone down there were nothing short of miraculous. I mean, an anesthesiologist that was addicted to all kinds of drugs. He was an alcoholic, and came back and was none of those things afterwards. And I thought, my gosh, this has to be too good to be true, doesn't it? And so I talked to my husband about it, and he was not on board at all. He was actually very opposed to it. He felt like he was scared. What if I go down there and I come back more broken than I am now? What if I go down there and I'm in this sort of third world country and if something happens, there's no real health care that's like what we have available right there. So it was scary for him. And at this point, I just didn't care. I just needed to do something. I mean, it was, well, I can go do this, or I can shock my frontal lobe and see if I come out the same person on the other side. You pick. So I actually, and I'm going to say a very naughty word, but I actually looked at him. We were on vacation. I said, I was in tears and crying. And I said, if you can't get on board, just kindly shut the fuck up because I'm going to do this. And so I did. And it was a life-changing experience, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my foray into psychedelics, I guess.
Describe the difference.
Wait a minute.
Don't leave me hanging.
Before we get to that, I just want to say something. You and I, Sarah, are so aligned on this. I never, ever, I didn't even smoke marijuana, right? Growing up as a kid, It was, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Nancy Reagan, just say no.
Oh yeah.
All the propaganda, all the bullshit that we were fed. And I'm in a business meeting, and this guy stands up and starts talking about MDMA therapy for PTSD. And the first reaction I had was, who is this asshole talking about drugs in a business meeting, right? And I was getting pissed off. And then all of a sudden, the more I listened, I ended up getting tunnel vision. And I spent 3 hours talking to this guy. And I went on a quest. I spent 18 months of my life learning everything I could about MDMA and PTSD and what it can do, what it doesn't do, etc. And because I was I was so physically broken. I was in stage 2 of heart failure and only had 50% of the use of my lungs, had high blood pressure. I was so broken. I hired an MD to sit with me during my first MDMA experience 18 months later after this business, because I had to, like you, I had to learn everything I could because I didn't know what the heck to expect. Right. But if something went awry, I wanted an MD there to make sure that Big Daddy came out of it okay. Right.
Right, exactly. Well, I should add for my husband, who was so wildly opposed to me doing this, where I had also, like you, never smoked marijuana, never done any of that. My husband had done all the drugs in
What?
his youth, all of them,
Oh my
except for
God.
psychedelics. And psychedelics scared the crap out of him. So he was like, no, absolutely not. So I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Um, but
Poor Rich.
So,
so
so you went from feeling sad, depressed, taking SSRIs or going from one drug to another to going to this place in Jamaica. And what did you take there? What did they serve?
Well, they served psilocybin. So, and the
Mushrooms.
variety was B plus
Okay.
mushrooms. And as we know, there's a gajillion different varieties
What,
of magic
2,600 different,
mushrooms.
2,600 different varieties of psilocybin mushrooms.
Right. Yeah. And
Okay.
I
And
would say
then,
that the process of having to come off my medication, my SSRIs prior to going was horrific. I
oh, you had to go off
experienced,
before you went.
yeah, that they
Okay.
requested that you at least reduce, if not come off completely. And I was determined, oh, I'm coming off completely because I don't want any, I want to experience it fully without worrying about is my medication interacting with it. So
How long did you
I
have to be off of it?
I took about 4 months to come off of everything.
Okay.
And I was absolutely suicidal at one point during that. I was scrubbing cases in our cath lab and I would get brain zaps. Anybody that's been on antidepressants and come off and has had experiences, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These brain zaps where my vision would tunnel in really fast, my hearing would go away, and it would just hit me nonstop, just over and over and over again all day long. And I would go to scrub and I would have to hang on. You know, the physician didn't know what I was going through. I had a couple of my nurse friends that knew what was going on and they just gently covered for me. But I would have to hold the table just to sort of steady myself because it would make me dizzy and feel terrible. And so, I mean, we live in a little logging community and I frequently on the way to work thought, man, if I just pulled out in front of this log truck right now, we could be done with all of this. And the only thing that kept me able to go through that was I go to Jamaica in March. I'm going to Jamaica in March. This has to work. It's my last hope.
Yeah.
So in Jamaica, they give you, I'm there for a week. They give you three higher dose sessions, and they're a day apart, or there's a day between each dosing period. So we get there. The next day is our first dose. I have no idea what the effect of this medicine is. I have no idea what to expect. Nothing. I haven't. I just have no idea.
Blind
And so
faith.
they're,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
Goodness.
blind faith.
yeah. And so they're asking everybody around the room, what what brings you here? You know, what are you hoping to get? So talking about intentions, which at this point was like Greek to me. What do you mean intentions? You know, I don't even understand what you're talking about. And it was kind of frustrating to me because I was like, I feel like I don't know, you're not talking to the real person here who doesn't know what they're doing. Um, so anyway, they were asking, what are you hoping to gain from this? And these people were going around, and there were probably 8 of us there, and 2 therapists per person, which was really nice. I felt very safe, very held. And people were talking about horrific stories of abuse, of rape, of war, of all these things. And I just sat there and I could feel my blood starting to boil. And they got around to me and they said, you know, what is it that you're hoping to gain? And I said, quite honestly, as I'm listening to all of you guys talk, I'm really pissed off. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, that's refreshing to hear." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be that person, but I just said I have no reason to be as depressed as I am. I wasn't abused. I've never been raped. I've never been to war. There's nothing for me to be so freaking sad about. So I'm mad that this is even going on." So anyway, first dose, they give everybody 3.5 grams. And it's just and B plus is a relatively mild strain. So they just want to see kind of what your reaction is, how you're gonna react to it. And we're outside, and I take that first dose, and it was 6 full hours um, of being under the medicine. It took 2 hours to launch, which was weird for me because I'm very sensitive to medicine. So I just thought, oh, this isn't going to work. I've paid all this money, and it's not going to work. And finally, after a couple of hours, I launched, but it was all, I didn't have any beautiful visuals. It was all voices in my head. And there were two voices, and they were both me, both my voices. And I was just berating myself for everything.
Mm.
I was, I got really cold. And that's kind of my MO on mushrooms. I get very cold as I'm starting to peak on them. But at the time, I didn't know. It's almost 90 degrees in Jamaica, for crying out loud. And I'm out on a lawn chair, in the sun, and I am almost jackhammering. I'm so cold. So I ended up going up to my room and getting my coat, which I had a puffer coat on because it was still cold here in Idaho when I left. Put that on, and I go back into the experience. And one voice is saying, "You look ridiculous. Everybody's done. They're looking at you and they think, why is she wearing a coat? She's so dumb." And then the other one was, "Why is nobody helping me? They said they were going to help me. I'm so cold. Can't they see I'm so cold?" And then it was, "But you won't ask for help. You can't be mad at anybody." I mean, it was just that
Wow.
for 6 solid hours.
Wow.
When I got done, I was exhausted and I was just sobbing. And the therapist said, "Do you need to talk?" And I was like, "No, man, I just need to go take a shower and go to bed. Do you want some dinner?" "Absolutely not. I just want to go to bed. I want to make this go away." And so I went up to my room, journaled a little bit. The next day, we had integration, which again, a word that I did not understand. I had no concept of what that even meant. We talked as a group. Other people did not have the best experience that first dose either. So I felt like, okay, well, it wasn't all bad, I suppose. So then the next day, the third day, we do another dose, and they're asking us, "Well, what do you guys want to do for a dose?" And I'm like, "I don't have a clue. I mean, if you want to talk about, I don't know, hypertension medications or something that I'm familiar with, I could talk to you about a dose, but I have no idea what to do here." And so they decided 8 grams for me that day,
Oh
which
my
I
Lord.
was like,
That's a
"Oh,
lot.
that sounds like a lot." Yeah, exactly. And I was the highest. I was getting the highest dose of the group, and I had the least amount of experience
Hmm.
with it. So I was like, "Ooh, okay, well, I'm just going to trust you, trust that this is what it needs to be." And so gave me the 8 grams. I'm trying to kind of prime my mind by looking pictures at my grandchildren and trying to have happy thoughts as I'm going into this.
Mhm.
And I get very nauseous and I'm throwing up for, I don't know, the first couple of hours. I'm sick. And then finally, this playlist, which is my all-time favorite, and it's the one I listen to every single time for the last 3 years that I do a macrodose, but finally dropped in and wasn't nauseous anymore. And um, this song comes up, and it's called Emmanuel. And I didn't know what the song was. We have eye shades on and noise canceling headphones, and it starts playing, and I am definitely high on this medicine at this point, and I can't quite pick out what is that song that's playing because it's very ethereal sounding. And I finally realized, oh, that's Carol of the Bells, which is one of my very favorite Christmas songs. And then I'm confused.
Ah.
It's 90 degrees and there's Christmas music playing in my ears, and this is weird, but also just then, but stop analyzing it, just enjoy the music. It was beautiful. And then it weaves in another song into it that's playing in the background. And that sounds really familiar too. And I'm really struggling to kind of name it. And then sort of the chorus comes up, and again, very ethereal sounding. So it doesn't sound at all like what we are used to, but it's O come, Emmanuel.
Mhm.
And when I realized that that's what it was, um, I can't believe 4 years later, this makes me cry. But when I realized that, everything went black, and I went, "Oh, there you are." And it was God, is who I
Oh,
was talking to.
beautiful.
And And then I just watched him create the world. And up here in Idaho, we live in an area that has a lot of farm fields and it's rolling green wheat fields and things like that. But they're very green in the spring. And that's what it looked like. It looked like he was just creating all these green rolling fields in front of me. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And um, he turned to me and he held my face in his hands. And I have no doubt of my encounter with God. And he said, I've only ever created you for love and for joy and for light. Go be those things. And he just had this warm, I couldn't see his face, but I could feel this warmth, like a smile in his voice.
Mm.
And I said, but what about all the rules? And looking back on that, I was like, where'd that come from? I didn't go down there looking for a spiritual awakening or any of that. I just wanted my brain fixed. I wanted to stop feeling sad all the time. Um, and he laughed, and it was this just deep, sonorous laugh. And he said, "Oh, I never created any of that. That's all just noise. That's something you people have created. And I never um, intended for you to carry the load that you people carry. Just go be love to
Amen.
those." And I was
Wow.
like, I kind of just sat there and was like, well, it's really just that easy.
Yeah.
And then he just went on creating more things and was saying, I would have done this even just for you. And I mean, and that's a verse in the Bible, and it was just something I'd read, but it's just kind of something that you read. But that had so much meaning at that point for me that it really solidified in my head as no, he really would have created all of this just for me. And then the journey went on. I saw my grandkids and all kinds of really beautiful things that I never expected to see in that journey. Um, and then the final journey, um, they took it back down to 6 grams. They said, well, we were digging through your vomit. And I was like, ah, geez. And and they said, we think you probably threw up about 2 grams worth of your last one. So we'll do 6 grams. And they lemon teched it, which is soaking it in lemon juice for about a half hour prior to administering it. And they said, this will hopefully cut down on all that nausea for you. And so I had no nausea with the third one, and it was a magnificent journey as well. My daughter was also struggling with very deep depression, was suicidal, struggling with alcohol at the time, and I was very worried about her. And she came into this one, and um,
So
we
she
were
came in
koi.
your mind. She wasn't
In
actually
my
there, but in
no,
your,
no, in
okay.
in my journey, yeah. And we were koi fish, and we're swimming up this river, kind of upstream, and I can't quite figure out. I mean, we're working pretty hard, and it's this one particular song, and the song is building, which these playlists are so amazing because they're curated for peaks and valleys and peaks and
Mm.
valleys, and so the song is increasing intensity, and we're swimming harder. She's in front of me, and I'm behind her, and she keeps looking behind and saying, "Mama, are you coming?" And I said, "Sweetheart, I'm right here." Um, and she was like, "Okay." And so we just kept swimming harder and harder and harder until finally she jumped out of the water and she turned into, I wasn't sure what it was, but it was this beautiful, colorful something that was flying. And I remember just taking a deep breath and stopping swimming and relaxing and looking at her and thinking, "Oh, you're the most magnificent thing I've ever seen," and just relaxing. And it was like, "You're going to be okay. She's going to be okay." And the next day, as I need to end this with a little bit of a funny haha. At the end of that journey, um, I watched God create Adam, which I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Thanks for this." So
Yeah.
I'm watching him create Adam, and then I don't see him create Eve, but she comes into the picture and she walks up to Adam, and Adam looks at her and he goes, "Sup, bro?" And I went, "Oh, that is definitely not how that happened." And I just started laughing and I was like, "Okay, we're done. This is a great place to be done with this journey." So it was so remarkable. But the next day we're talking about this, what our experience was. And I was sitting next to a gentleman who was in the Marines, I believe. And he'd seen some stuff. He was there because they had recently lost their newborn baby. And he was really struggling with that. And I just felt a kinship with him for some, maybe I felt like more like his mother. He was about the age of my son, in his late 20s. So anyway, he's sitting next to me and I'm telling my story about this koi fish. And he says, "I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to. Do you know about the legend of the koi?" And I said, "I have no idea. I mean, I've seen some koi before, but I don't know. I don't know Asian culture. I don't know any of that." And he was married to a gal from Japan. And he said, "I really want you to go look it up." I think you'll be amazed. And so I'm like, okay. So we get done and I go back up to my room and I look it up and I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit, but it's a legend that there are these koi fish that are swimming up the Yellow River and their scales are glinting. The sun is glinting off their scales and it catches the attention of some evil spirits. And the evil spirits are like, we're going to make this harder for them. They're not going to make it. They're trying to get to a lake. These koi are trying to get to this lake. We're going to make it harder for them. So not only are we going to make it so they're swimming upstream, we're going to create a waterfall that they're never going to be able to get to the lake. And I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds very familiar to, I mean, because we were really struggling to swim against whatever it was we were swimming against. In this legend, one koi jumps up the waterfall and makes it to the lake up top and turns into a beautiful multicolored dragon. And then that dragon
Oh,
protects all of the koi that are in the fish below and makes the evil spirits go away.
oh.
And I was gobsmacked when I read that. I was like, this is exactly what I experienced in my journey. So anyway, very interesting, very moving. All that to say, got home. They're not terribly the best, at least at that time, at integration. So we had a couple of follow-up calls, but they were really, I just didn't know what to do. What do I do with this? I know I'm not done, but I don't necessarily have access to more medicine. I don't really know what to do. And microdosing kind of came up in some of my research. And so, anyway, finally found a source for microdosing and started doing that. And that was a needle mover for me in helping me to maintain this sort of openness in my head to keep exploring. So that's my foray into psychedelics.
And so does the sadness ever come back? Is it gone for good? Like tell me about that.
No, I don't think I shouldn't say it's not the same sadness as before. And I think over the last 3 years, I've come to trust. It was very scary at first when I would have periods of low mood and stuff. I would be very scared. Oh my gosh, it's coming back. And what am I going to do? And so I was, just relentless at researching and researching and researching. And I ended up doing MDMA, which was also very life-changing for me. And kind of like you, Jerry. And then my husband and I did MDMA, flipped our marriage on its head, changed it completely, and
It
So
does, doesn't
you're
it?
no longer roommates. You are
wildly in love.
oh
Yeah.
Like
cool.
I couldn't have said I was in love with him prior to that. We had been married 26 years when we did MDMA. So I just thought I'm just doing life with this guy who loves me for whatever reason because I'm kind of intolerable a lot of times. And yeah, we're just ridiculously in love, like the two of you, honestly.
Well, and I'll just share this with you. We have an annual tradition. Most people on their Thanksgiving, they gorge themselves and eat too much. Laura
You
and
get together with family and there's a lot of chaos or there's a lot of
we we wake up in the morning, we journal, we do our exercise, we shower, we do MDMA together, we climb back into bed with our pajamas on, and we just hold hands and we heal.
Yeah,
And that's how we spend our Thanksgiving. It's a glorious day.
I love it. Yeah, any experience with MDMA for me is just it feels like the weight of the world drops off my shoulders as
Yeah.
it's finally starting to kick in and I feel like I can breathe again. Just breathe out bullshit, breathe in love. And
Yes.
it's beautiful.
It is.
Um, but yeah, so kind of got into the microdosing thing. And then I have a friend here who is a licensed therapist. And I had reached out to her and she's very much a hippie. She's very much a somebody I thought, oh, she's got to have done LSD, mushrooms, all the things. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, have you done mushrooms? If not, you might consider it because I think you'd really be an amazing therapist for integrating experiences for people. And so she kind of was like, well, I mean, I've done little doses, but I haven't ever done a macrodose. And so I kind of just gave her some information about that and she did it. And on the other side, she was like, oh, this is life-changing. This will be life-changing to clients. We have to do something with this. And I was like, okay, well, what do you think? And she said, let's start a business. And so that's what we did. And
Yay.
she kind of separated from the place she was working at. And so she does regular talk therapy. And then I kind of developed my own sort of microdosing program for folks and just kind of took pieces and parts from ones that I had participated in and that spoke to me and have tried to sort of build it and formulate it over the last little over a year. And then we also facilitate some macrodose journeys for people and it's so rewarding to watch lives be changed with this medicine.
Yeah, it isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
it's
If if
stunning.
people want to find out more information, how did they reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of you or to find out more?
So you can reach me at, well, on Facebook, we have a page, Transformative Solutions. And my
Transformative solution. So it'd be facebook.com/transformative solutions.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. And that'll bring you to us. We also, you can reach me at Sarah S at Transformative Solution, no S on the end, .com. Um, and I can send links to people. I have telephone number that people can reach me on, that I can give you that information as well.
Yeah, we'll filter that for you.
Okay.
If they're interested in your number, have them reach out to us, and then we will make sure it's a viable, real opportunity.
Oh, perfect. That's very sweet of you guys.
You
Thank you.
bet.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea,
I don't
Jerry.
want your phone blowing up with the Craigslist crazies.
Well, that's true. Although, bring it on. It could be some good fun.
Yeah, yeah. I have the same issue with some psychedelics of the jackhammering. I get so cold
Yeah.
during the come up, and then once it hits, I'm usually okay. But mushrooms are pretty big for me, and I get very nauseous. And for me, how do you deal with, like, I get paranoid? Like, I get
Mm.
right in the very beginning. It's like, why did I do this? I will never do this crap again.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't have those thoughts as well as the come up is coming, because what I used to do was I would soak my dose, open the capsules up, soak my dose, and they're ground mushrooms in lemon juice for probably 20 or 30 minutes. While it's soaking, I would journal. And then I would drink it. I would mix it with a little bit of water and drink it all, solids and all. And over the last probably 3 months with my clients, what I started to do was I'll soak that dose, but then I put it through an AeroPress and I press all the solids out and mix it with some ginger tea and then have them drink that down. I have had not one case of nausea um,
Oh,
since
got it.
doing this. And I
Okay.
actually facilitated a gentleman on this last Friday who he said was very sick in his last journey. And he did one by himself at home. And he had said, I won't do that again. I want to do it with you because I'm doing something wrong. I'm like, well, you're not. And so I, I used this method for him. And he said, I didn't have an inkling of nausea with this
Beautiful.
method. So
Yeah, I've read
yeah,
it's the actual flesh of the mushroom that causes the nausea.
yeah, yeah. And I get nauseous every time. So I hesitate to say I can't wait for my next journey because I can.
It's
Right.
certainly
Um,
not something you're going to get addicted to.
no, no.
No,
But I am going to do it this way and hope that it has the same effect for me. I think it will.
yeah, the only addiction with psychedelics that I'm aware of is ketamine. Ketamine is highly addictive,
Yeah,
but anything other than that, no. But ketamine was not designed as a psychedelic; it was designed as an anesthesia,
yeah,
and it's been converted. So,
yeah. Yeah, I get people asking all the time who like me have no knowledge or no experience of psychedelics asking, well, but why would you ever, take an illegal drug like that? I go, oh, when the government scheduled for us, let's get some history on why that was all. That's a whole different story. But um, I'm like, there's no chance you're going to get addicted to this, and that's the biggest concern for people is, oh, I'll do this once and I want to do it all the time. And I'm like, I challenge you. I challenge you with everything in me, go through one macrodose and come out on the other side and say, I can't wait to do that again.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's never,
It's
never the
I don't
case.
understand how people do these at a party and think it's fun. To me, it's always been work, and it's been work to clear my trauma, clear my shit, right? And frankly, um, the whole concept of MDMA, like when that got scheduled as Schedule One in 1985, I think it was,
Yeah.
300 medical doctors, psychologists, and psychiatrists testified, said, please, whatever you do, do not schedule this. This is life-changing medicine that it's in my opinion, this is my opinion, this is Jerry's opinion here. Okay. I believe that once they take the stigma away from MDMA, it will probably go down as one of the great medicines of our time, similar to penicillin. I really believe that.
I agree. And I think, with proper education around it, um, you know, there's always going to be people who abuse everything, but with proper education around it, I think that people will see the value, like you said, strip the stigma from it, be educated about it, which I am very passionate about. I'm constantly posting,
Yeah.
different educational things on, hoping people will look into it a little bit and not just believe the garbage that we've been sold,
So
over the
here's
decades.
about LSD. Art Linkletter, his daughter died. The government said that she was high on LSD, thought she could fly, and jumped off the balcony of a, I don't know, 6 or 8 story apartment building and fell to her death because, of course, she couldn't fly. And so Art Linkletter came out, and he was the voice of America back in the 50s and 60s, and
Yeah.
told everybody, you're gonna kill yourself, all this shit. It turned out during the autopsy there was no drugs in the woman's system. There was no alcohol in her system. And the people that were there testified in court that said she slipped and fell. There was
Oh.
nothing happening. There was no drugs. There was no alcohol. There was none of that. They were just having a deal, and she slipped and fell off the balcony.
But
So
of course, we never hear about that because that
no, of
doesn't fit the
course,
narrative.
U.S. propaganda is stronger than any other propaganda.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
sorry,
Sarah,
I know you're listening.
on a personal level, Sarah, if the depression that you felt going in was an absolute 10, where would you say that you are now?
Oh, I'm a one.
Oh, really?
Easily.
Okay.
I've been off my antidepressant since then, so for over 3 years. And I don't even know if you can call it a one. I would say that I get periods of sadness that now I have healthy coping skills for, and I realize this isn't forever. This is okay. And I've worked through some of my garbage, and like you said, the hard truth, um, when I was able to look in the mirror and really just look at myself and say, you are the creator of your own misery. You are what's keeping you stuck in this swamp of bullshit that you're buying. So it's up to you to do something about it. And that's where psychedelics have come in to help me work through some of that stuff and bring some of those emotions, bring some of that stuff up and make me really look at it and reevaluate my relationship to that I don't know, storyline that I've sold myself all these years, so just taking full responsibility and accountability for the sadness that I chose to, I don't know, wallow in for so many years.
Wow, what an amazing story. I was riveted.
Yeah, me too. I hope our listeners, our viewers, are riveted as well, and reach out to Sarah. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Her and her husband have
Thank
spent
you.
some time at our ranch. We just love these people. They do good stuff. They're really trying to help out as many people as they can, similar to us, just different ways. We
Yeah.
for me, it's not about money. It's about impact. How do we help more and more people? Uh, and that's part of what this broadcast is about. The podcast. How do we reach out to more people and help them become the person God intended them to be, and to reach their full potential?
So
Yeah.
at the end of every episode, at the beginning of every episode, Jerry starts with a hard truth. And at the end of every episode, I ask a question to our listeners. And I've been thinking about what question do I want to ask today? And it really just boils down to if you're taking a medication for depression or anxiety, or maybe you're not taking a medication, but you just feel like something's not right in your emotions, in your soul, and it's like, and you feel stuck, then please reach out. Please reach out to Sarah. Please reach out to Jerry or me. Our website is bbmmusa.com. That's Business Builders Mentor and Mastermind. So bbmmusa.com. Reach out to us, and we can, if Jerry and I can't help you, we can at least point you in the right direction. And that may be to Sarah. So is there anything else that you'd like to share, Sarah? Any other words of wisdom or hope?
I don't think any words
Hope?
of wisdom, but I would say when you're at your lowest and you're feeling the most hopeless, just know no, there's hope. You can get through it. I was at the very end of my rope and have come so far, and it's been such a beautiful journey. And I would just like to say what a blessing to have met you two
Oh,
and
thank you.
to have this relationship and friendship that is just building. And you guys are just a blessing to so many. I know it.
You're
For
kind.
sure
Thank
to
you so
Richie and
much.
I.
Well, we certainly love and appreciate you and
We
Rich,
appreciate you guys.
and we look forward to our next get together, whether it's on
Yes.
Zoom or whether it's live and in person.
For sure in March,
Oh yeah,
coming to
Yes.
Austin.
yeah,
Yes, our
yes,
Money Freedom Legacy event. Yeah, we're
Yes.
looking forward to that very much.
beautiful.
Because if you don't have money handled and you're a slave to the bank, then you can't be your best. And
Right.
if you don't have the investments, if your money is just going out the door and you're not creating true freedom for yourself, then that's kind of, you get to the end of your life and you say, was that all it was for? Like, what am I doing? And so that's why it's money freedom. And then legacy is like, it's not just about you. It's about the impact. And it's not just about your family. Although it can be, it's about who is going to say, wow, I'm so glad that I met them.
Hmm.
They made a difference for me.
Yep.
And it could be your employees. It could be the person on the street that's walking past your shop and they look through the window and see your boots. And you see them and they're on the other side of the window. This happened. And they weren't wearing any shoes, just socks.
Mm.
And Jerry invited her in and said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, I don't have anything." And it's like, "Okay, well, now you have a pair of boots. They happen to fit her
Mm.
perfectly."
Of
So,
course.
you don't know who you're going to affect. It's just be awake, be be conscious. And if you don't feel like you could get there, then reach out to us and we'll help.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And that's part of Money Freedom Legacy. See, here's reality: slaves used to work all day, every day, with no pay, right? But they did get free food, water, and shelter. Today, we work all day, nearly every day, and we get paid. But the money that we make, we spend on food, water, shelter, credit cards,
Yeah.
car payments, taxes. We're still slaves. The only thing that's changed is we now have the illusion of freedom.
Right.
Come to Money Freedom Legacy and we'll help you actually create reality of freedom.
Yeah, the life you dreamed of, for those of you who dream of having freedom.
Yep.
Cool.
Exciting.
All
Cool.
right. This brings us to the end of this podcast. We love you so much and we appreciate you for being here.
Thank you for
Oh, we
sharing
love
your
you.
story. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
you bet. Talk to you soon.
Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Share the show and connect with us at BBMMUSA.com to submit questions and learn more. That's BBMMUSA.com.